I'm there.
It looks like there are 2 IDs here. Are both of these IDs yours?
Yes, they are.
And looking at the page directly, the one on the right identifies your name as Lindsay Sharon Lakari, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what date was that ID set to expire?
The 23rd, 6/2/2023.
And it looks like there are small holes on this ID. Do you know why that is?
Because I surrendered it to the DMV December 26th, where they voided the ID, so it would be impossible for me to use that ID.
And looking at the ID on the left, on the right side of the ID, what is the issue date?
December 26th, 2017.
So as of December 26, 2016, December 26, 2017, you did not have a valid ID for Lindsay Lakari, is that correct?
No, I was married and I was happy to be Lindsay Antee.
So at that point, if you were to sign any document, you would have been signed it as Lindsay Antee?
That's correct. That's all she could notarize for. That's who I was.
Did you ever hyphenate your name, like, for example, Lindsay Lakari Antee?
I might have done it initially for Facebook, just because I'm known as Lindsay Lakari. So it was easier to just add the hyphen, but that quickly went away and I just did away with Antee altogether.
So even if you were to sign a deed, you wouldn't sign it as Lindsay Lakari at this time, is that correct?
No, I only had valid ID as Lindsay Antee.
And other than the present lawsuit, did you ever file any type of complaint against the notary of the title company?
I did.
And who was that with?
With the Secretary of State, I reported Nikki Bott for the forgery of my name.
And what's the status of that investigation?
She could not provide her journal, and they didn't give me much information besides that, besides they suspended her notary.
So when the Nevada Secretary of State investigated her and requested her notary book, is it your understanding that she couldn't provide it?
Right.
Did you ever ask to see the closing disclosure on the property?
No.
Had you ever did you ever receive a copy of this disclosure?
No.
And is it your understanding that the closing disclosure was issued after the closing?
I don't know.
Would you have wired any funds if you knew that $8,374 were used to pay off Bobby's student loans?
Absolutely not.
Do you know what the current balance on the mortgage for the residence is?
$198, 200 and some change.
And the loan amount was approximately $204,000, is that correct?
I believe so.
So is it your understanding that the principal balance has only reduced approximately $6,000 since purchase?
Yes, very small part of my payment goes to actually the principal.
Do you recall the first time you asked Bobby for a divorce?
The day after the closing of the home.
And how was that interaction? Was that in person, via text message?
No, I was at my mom's house and I sent him an email asking him for a divorce on January 18th, 2018.
And why January 18th? Well, do you recall why you asked for divorce on that specific day?
When I left the title company, my money was still in the account. When I woke up the next day, my money was gone. So I then knew that I did not get to review any of these documents. I did not get to make a decision, and they just closed without me. So I then told him I want a divorce.
And I want you to turn to Exhibit 6 in the big binder, PLTF 114.
Okay.
So looking about halfway down the email, there's an email sent from getdivorcepapers.com to lindsaylicari14@aol.com. Is your email lindsaylicari14@aol.com?
Yes, it is.
Did you receive this email?
Yes, I requested it.
You said you requested it. You requested what?
I requested information on how I could go about annulling or divorcing
So you were then sent this email.
to Bobby.
You were then sent this email from getdivorcepapers.com regarding the process of getting a divorce.
Yes.
And that's on the date or the day before the property closed, is that correct?
Well, from my understanding, this all happened on the 17th, and then the 18th was the day after. So I'm not sure what the 19th is.
So either way, within at least one day, you had already requested a divorce from Bobby because you didn't know that the property was gonna close, is that correct?
That's correct.
And quick side note, for opposing counsel, this is within Exhibit 6. Do you have any issue with this being admitted?
I would only object under the best evidence rule, is that looks like it's a photocopy for photocopy and not even the original kind of email strands that was done. It was an email from Lindsay Licari to a Kathy Gentry later on, as opposed to the actual email from that date.
So, because it's not in evidence, I haven't been looking at it. It's 114 through what?
Just 114.
Just page 114?
And the line of questioning is related to, it looks like kind of like a form or a logo. We're not testifying regarding any text, so I don't think there'd be any issue with it being authentic or anything like that.
I don't know what's on the page. As I said, it's not in evidence, so what is your objection, please?
I only under the best evidence rule, and that it's a photocopy for photocopy, and then it's an email that's sent at a far later date. It's not the actual email itself. It's not the actual documents that were sent from this divorce site.
It does appear to be an email chain, although I can't read it.
And testimony was related to about halfway down from getdivorcepapers.com to her, and the line of questioning is essentially the timeline of closing and then when she had requested divorce, and just whether or not she had sent this email or received it.
I'm sustaining the objection. I have her testimony.
Okay,
Okay.
fair enough. So you had previously testified that you and Bobby went on your honeymoon in February of 2018, is that correct?
That's correct.
And do you recall the exact date you returned from your honeymoon?
I'm not sure the exact date. It was I believe we went on the 12th and came back 5 days. I can't give you the exact date.
So
I'm not sure.
approximately mid-February 2018.
Yes.
And were you living exclusively in the marital residence at this time?
When we came back from the honeymoon, I was at the house.
And you had stated that you lived with your mother for several weeks at a time. Now, approximately how long in between February of 2018 and July of 2018 did you stay with your mother?
About every month there was an issue, and I would leave the home and go to my mom's house because Bobby would refuse to leave the home.
And when you would go to your mother's house, is there an approximate amount that you'd stay there, or would it vary?
It would be between days and weeks that I would stay at my mom's house at a time.
Would you say more often than not between February 2018 and July of 2018 that you stayed at your mother's house more than you did at the marital residence?
Yes, the majority of the time I spent at my mother's house and also sleeping in my office.
And why would you sleep in your office?
Bobby would go through my things in the middle of the night, and I was having a lot of issues with the loss of my son, formatting a foundation, planning a celebration of life, a wedding, and a Christmas party. And the things he would argue with me about were so far off that I just wanted to be away from him. So I started sleeping in my offices. I started staying with my mother. Anything I could do to just find a moment of peace.
Did you and Bobby ever have conversations about you working too much?
Yes, he said that the foundation was ruining me, that I was drowning myself in my work, and the families I were helping were Aiden's army of leeches, is how he described it.
And in between February 2018 and July of 18, approximately how many hours a week would you work?
About 12. 12 hours a day in the week. 6 days a week. I would not go to work on Sunday because I would go to church twice on Sunday.
And when did the defendant move out of the marital residence?
Beginning of July.
Why did he move out of the residence?
He had moved all my things out, and he thought I was not coming back, so he was going to now move his things out and list the house.
How did you know that he wanted to sell the house?
He told me to get out of the house. He was selling it, and he was going to call Linda to sell it.
And did he propose this as a joint venture between you and him to sell the house, or that he solely was going to sell the house?
No, he made it very clear to me that it was his house, and wait till the judge tells me what a gift letter is.
And once you discovered that he intended to sell the property, did you then move back into the property?
Yes, I tricked him, and then I moved back into the property, and that's how I was the one there, and his things were gone.
And was that to protect your interest because you believed he was trying to sell the property without your knowledge?
Yes, and he was damaging the property in the process of him trying to sell it.
What type of damage was under the property?
There's paint all over the floors. There's nicks all over the walls. Those were mainly the issues with the house. He was trying to repaint, and he didn't know how to paint. And he was trying to fix the nicks in the walls from when he moved furniture in there. And again, he didn't know how to do that, so it just created more damage.
And you're saying there's paint on the floor. Is there any way to approximate how much paint's on the floor?
And downstairs in the bottom, he probably spilt about half a cup of paint on the stairs and the bottom of the floor, because he didn't lay down any paper when he was calling himself repairing the home to sell it.
And the stairs, do you know what type of material the paint spilled on?
Tile, ceramic tile.
And did he attempt to clean it up or to pay someone?
No.
And do you believe that paint can simply be cleaned, or would have to be, the tile would have to be replaced?
I'm sure that it can be cleaned, but there's going to be a lot of repairs needed for the home.
And other than the paint, what other type of repairs are needed to be done in the home?
The Cancer family dropped bleach all over the floor when they were there with Bobby. So in one of the bedrooms, the carpet's completely filled with bleach. And then there was a lot of cleaning that I had to do to even move back into the home because it was thrashed.
And the bleach, that was only in one room, is that correct?
Yes, only in the room that I had let the Cancer family use upstairs.
So that carpet would have to get
Completely
taken
ripped out.
replaced. Was there ever any type of other issues, air conditioning issues?
Yes, the Cancer family was staying there, and the little girl had neuroblastoma. The air conditioner went out. I then informed Bobby about this, and he said he would call the home warranty company, and they would come fix it for $75. The process of that was going to be 2 weeks. And I explained to him, this little girl is very sick. There's no way she can sit in 107-degree weather without air conditioning. We have to fix this now. He then stated to me, who cares? They don't work. We go to work all day, so if they want to sit in the heat, let them. So I again took it upon myself and paid the air conditioning company to come out and fix the air conditioner, and I again left the home, and he stayed there with the Cancer family.
Do you recall how much it cost to have the AC fixed?
$380.
And did Bobby ever split this cost with you or give you any money?
I think he initially actually paid the washer guy, but then I made a transfer to him for the $380 because anytime Bobby paid for something, he wanted it right back.
And I'm talking about the air conditioner.
Yeah,
So,
and I made the transfer back to him for the $380.
you said there was also an issue with the washer. What was the issue with the washer?
We originally moved into the house and the washer broke. Again, Bobby wanted to use the home warranty and only pay the $75. I explained to him these washers are beyond just repairing them. They're old, they're broken, they need replacing. And he again ignored me. The warranty company did come 2 weeks later and they fixed the washer. And he then bought himself a 90-inch TV.
So was there, the washer broke, did it leak or anything like that, or did it just stop working?
In the process, it was leaking all over the floor.
And in your opinion, did that cause any damage to the property?
Yes, now there's damage in the ceiling of the home that needs complete replacement.
So the washer's on the second floor then?
On the third.
On the third floor. Have you had any type of professional come out to estimate what it would be to repair that?
No, because I was never put on the homeowner's policy, so they do not help me at all with the home.
Have you ever had any other independent contractor or someone who could do that type of repair come and look at it?
No.
But it's your testimony that ultimately there is damage to the roof and the broken washer and that it needs to be repaired, is that correct?
Well, yes, because the home warranty company initially did come out and look at the ceiling, but they told me that it's not a home warranty issue, it's a home insurance issue. And that's why I never had anybody else come out and look at it.
Right, and all these issues are essentially when you're spending more time at your mother's than you are at marital residence, right?
That's correct.
So prior to Bobby moving out, did you ever transfer him any funds, essentially to pay for the house, pay for the mortgage, things like that?
Yes.
Your Honor, objection, asked and answered. This was covered in her testimony on Friday.
Your response, counsel.
To the objection, I think, I don't think we ever spoke about what she had transferred. I think we had asked if she had sent him any money, but I don't think we got too far into the details of how much was sent. I think that's a big point in this case is, between the time of the purchase of the property and filing for divorce, what payments were made and who they came from and everything like that.
So I would answer on a couple grounds. Is that one, I know that in their Exhibit 18, document PLTF 0491 was referenced, which specifically includes these transfers that were discussed. And then additionally, the question of who was paying for what during this period of time, before the divorce was filed, before the parties had separated, they were a community. And so if funds were coming from either party to pay for expenses related to the community, then they're irrelevant to this proceeding.
Well, I understand it's your position in the case, but I think she can testify to whether or not she sent the money and what it was for.
Certainly, but if it was for a community expense, which has been testified, then it was for a community purpose. And it's not relevant to the question of things being offset.
And we didn't say it would be offset. Our position is that parties were essentially in the process of separating, weren't even essentially living together, and any payments made or transfers are relevant, right? This case is all about transfers made, and so all transfers are relevant.
I would argue that during the period where the community was intact, before divorce was filed, if funds that were earned during that time, which they haven't shown that funds weren't acquired during that time, that they went to community expenses, then it was community funds, community expenses, and it's not relevant.
So I do have quite a lot of testimony over Exhibit 18. I don't know what areas you're planning on getting into, but there were a lot of statements made about the transfers, the $3,000 that was done twice, giving him cash from a safe. So I just don't want you to duplicate that. If you have additional questions, that's fine.
And these are entirely, what we're talking about now are entirely separate than
Understood.
the $3,000 transfers I was sent to apparently to Linda Na and then to Bobby as well. Those are essentially separate because these are in between I think May and June of 2018. Nothing to do with the purchase. It's post-purchase, and the process of separation.
As long as you're covering a different time period and different transactions, that's fine. I'll allow it overruled. Is the entirety of 18 in? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Lindsay, I'd like you to turn to the big binder, PLTF 155.
What exhibit is that?
This is in Exhibit 6.
Exhibit 6. So you're not going to Exhibit 18? I thought you were in 18. I'm sorry, you lost me. Were you in Exhibit 18?
We actually hadn't gotten to an exhibit. I was essentially just questioning regarding the transfer she had made.
Understand. Okay, thank you. Bates number, please, again.
PLTF 0155.
155. Thank you.
Lindsay, do you recognize these transfers on this document?
Yes.
On May 2nd, 2018, did you transfer $1,000 to Bobby?
Yes.
On June 8, 2018, did you transfer $400 to Bobby?
Yes.
On June 10, 2018, did you transfer $80 to Bobby?
Yes.
On June 14, 2018, did you transfer $200 to Bobby?
Yes.
And on June 25th, 2018, did you transfer $380 to Bobby?
Yes.
And these transfers are between May 2nd and June 25th, 2018, is that correct?
That's correct.
And during this time, you were staying at your mother's more than you were in the Merrill residence, correct?
That's correct.
So why would you transfer these funds if you weren't living in the house most of the time?
Because the cancer family was and the little girl needed air. And it was very important to me to make sure that they had what they needed. So I transferred it so that he would fix the air and the little girl would not be sitting in the heat.
So when you did stay at the residence, other than these funds, did you ever pay for any other expenses for you and Bobby?
Yes, I bought all the groceries, all the household items, and I covered everything that was basically needed for the house.
Right. And so in 2018, did you and Bobby file your 2017 taxes together?
Yes, in 2017, we were initially filing separately. He then called me and told me that his tax guy said we had to file together.
So you did file together, is that correct?
Yes, I gave the information to my CPA and she filed our taxes for us together.
And do you recall if the Merrill residence was claimed in the 2017 taxes you and Bobby
We didn't
filed?
own the house yet, so it was not claimed in 2017.
At the time of filing taxes, were you ever aware of any child support Bobby owed?
I didn't even know he was on child support or he owed any child support.
Do you recall when you met with your CPA to file your taxes for 2017?
I gave it to her at the end of December. I never actually met with her. I just gave her the information and she filed it.
Do you have an estimate of when your tax return was submitted?
It was in January.
I'd like you to turn to PLTF 123 in the same binder. And this is an exhibit 6 as well, so I don't know if the opposing counsel has any objection to it.
Which
It's
Is it?
exhibit 6 PLTF 0123.
so just to clarify, you weren't submitting the previous Chase statements as evidence, correct?
They were not offered.
Okay. Okay, I'm here. What's the question, counsel?
I was asking if you had any issue with it, because we were essentially taking Exhibit 6 kind of on a case-by-case basis,
I mean, I object as to general relevance. It's a completely different matter. It's a custody matter between the defendant and the mother of his child that bears no relation to this beyond what they've already testified about. And so I don't know what value this adds as evidence. I would object to it as being irrelevant.
so, the line of questioning I've been on is related to filing taxes for year 2017.
Right.
And I don't wanna, essentially, whether or not he was aware of child support arrearages is very relevant, because that can be, reduced from his tax return, and whether or not, ultimately, whether or not the plaintiff knew, that these arrearages existed.
She said she didn't.
Right.
And what they've produced, Your Honor, it's only a letter indicating the issuance of genetic test result. It has nothing to do with child support being ordered or arrearages or anything similar.
Sustained.
So, did you ever discover that Bobby had past due child support arrearages?
No, I didn't even know he didn't have rights to his kids.
So, when did you discover that he had outstanding child support?
When they garnished my tax return.
So you didn't discover this until after you had submitted your taxes, and then they had taken essentially what you and Bobby would have received back, they had garnished that amount.
Yes, and he acted like it was a surprise to him too.
And you recall the amount of the garnishment?
About $1,300.
And had you ever received any type of notice that there was any issue with the 2017 taxes you had filed together?
Never.
So Bobby had never indicated that he had received anything from the IRS stating that there was an issue with the taxes and that there was an outstanding balance owed.
No, not even when I asked him for mail, he wouldn't give it to me. He never mentioned it at all.
You had said when you had asked him for mail, so did he essentially have control of the mail?
Yeah, I was basically paying every bill blindly because he was not adding me to accounts. He would not send the statements, and he forwarded all the mail to his mom's house.
I'd like to just turn in the other binder to Exhibit X. And let me know when you're there.
I'm here.
Who is this letter addressed to?
Bobby and Lindsay Antee.
And what is that address listed?
Not my address. Never lived there.
Well, what's the address listed?
It's his mom's house.
Can you read the address to me?
1912 Camino Morada, North Las Vegas, 89031.
And that is, you had stated his mother's address.
That's correct.
So if the IRS had sent you any letter, it would have been sent to, forwarded to his mother's address, correct?
Yes.
So you never received any notice that there was any outstanding balance for 2017 taxes?
No.
And regarding mailing, since you had exclusive possession of the property, were utility bills sent to the marital residence?
He immediately turned off the electricity when he left. It cost me about $1,000 to return it on in my own name. The gas, he turned off all the utilities and I turned them back on. The ones that I could not put in my name, which were the water, the trash, HOA, all of these I could not put my name on or get access to because I was omitted from the title and I was not an owner of the property. So they kept referring me to call the owner of the property and get this information. And he kept ignoring me.
So in all of your attempts to have the water, the trash, the mortgage, switch into your name, you were always told that you weren't on the title of the property, so you couldn't do that. Is that correct?
Yes, that I'm not the homeowner and I could not access that information. And I later found out that the water was never initially turned on.
And by never turned on, what do you mean by that?
It was still in the previous owner's name. And I didn't find out until about a year and a half later, where I immediately put it in my own name, because then I had the exclusive possession paperwork, which also got me on Wells Fargo mortgage.
And regarding the water bill, do you recall when you were notified that it was actually in the previous owner's name and that neither you or Bobby had ever been paying the water bill?
Well, Bobby would not give me access to any of the bills. He wouldn't respond to me, so I just started calling these companies blindly to make sure that I was paying things on time. And in the process, they told me that's not even the name on the account, and that's how I found out it was the previous owner. And I found out because they shut my water off for 3 days.
And generally, until you had, and we'll kind of try to lump together the utilities together. So generally, while the HOA, trash, and electricity bills, when those statements were coming, did you ever see them at the residence?
No. Bobby sent me a screenshot, one of the HOA, one of the water, sewer, trash, and one of the mortgage statements. Besides those 3 screenshots, he never once sent me a statement. He never added me onto any accounts. He never gave me access to anything. I blindly played everything.
So if you didn't receive the statements, how would you pay those bills? Would you go online? Would you call? Would you send?
It was a combination of all of them. I would go online. Once I got the account numbers and the address, I added it to my bill pay, and then I would send payments blindly through my bill pay each month. And each month again would text Bobby and say, hey, I need those bills. You were ordered to give me the bills, and he would completely ignore me again.
So if you never received, and strike that, in this process, you were never informed on the outstanding balance is X amount of dollars. Is that correct?
No, I never heard of this IRS debt, which is very simple to fix, but he held it.
We're talking about utility bills. So when you were paying utility bills, were you ever informed that the bill is this amount of dollars and you need to pay this amount?
No.
So you were essentially, were you approximating the payments? How did that work?
Right. The one mortgage statement he did send me said 1209. So I began sending 1209. But then the interest would fluctuate, and now that I get the mortgage statements, sometimes it's 1240, sometimes it's 1235. So if I'm sending 1209 every month, I'm underpaying the mortgage every single month, and I try to explain this to him.
And then, but utility payments generally vary, right?
Yes.
Depending on the weather and the use, right? So, how would you know how to pay for utilities, not the mortgage?
Well, with the
payments?
trash, I called the trash company, and I found out there was a lien on the house from the trash because it was never being paid, even though I was begging him for these trash bills so I could keep up with the property. And finally, I called the trash company, found out there was a lien, and then was able to make a payment of about $300 and something through the trash company. And I still have not seen a statement since I made that payment.
And do you know if there's homeowner's insurance for the house?
According to my mortgage statement that I get now, I pay for it, but I'm not on it.
So, it's your understanding that homeowner's insurance is paid through the mortgage payment?
That's
Is that
correct.
So any payments you made towards the mortgage, essentially a portion of those were then utilized towards providing homeowner's insurance. Is that
That's
your
correct.
understanding?
Mhm.
So you had stated that there were, essentially claims submitted to homeowners insurance regarding, it sounded like the washer and the air conditioning,
Those were to home warranty.
the home warranty.
Mhm.
And what's your understanding of the difference between the homeowner's insurance and the home warranty?
Well, the homeowner's insurance will cover the home and my property outside of the home or around our home, from what I understand. The home warranty company covers the washers, dryers, the appliances in the home.
Did you ever submit a claim to the homeowner's insurance company?
Yes, I did.
And why did you submit a claim?
Because my car was broken into at my place of work.
what was the response from the homeowner's insurance company?
That I'm not listed on the policy, so it's not covered.
So they wouldn't evaluate the circumstance of what had happened at all because you weren't on the policy.
That's correct.
So you didn't receive any reimbursement for what was lost. And what did you say had happened?
They robbed my car. I was working at Suncoast as a second job, and they broke into my car and stole all of my electronics, my computers, personal things, and it was valued at almost $10,000 loss.
And so at that point you discovered you weren't covered by the policy, but that you were paying for the policy.
That's correct.
And do you currently have health insurance?
I currently do.
Is there any point in time since you have filed for divorce that you haven't had health insurance?
Yes, there was about the one time prior to filing for divorce I didn't have it, and then after filing for divorce there was 2 times he removed me from the health insurance policy.
But so once you got married, he then added you onto his health insurance through his work. Is that correct?
It was about 2 or 3 months after we got married that he added me on because he took a month off, so he wouldn't pay the COBRA. So I went a whole month without the insurance before it kicked in.
So essentially, since March of 2018, is that correct?
That's correct.
And you had stated that there were at least 2 points in time since you filed for divorce that you haven't had health insurance. How did you discover that?
I went to ER when I was having some issues, and they told me after I went to my visit that you are not covered through the culinary union anymore.
And did the culinary union tell you that, or did
No, the ER told me. I then called the culinary union, and they said that, again, they mailed me information that I never got, and they canceled me.
did they remove you from the policy, or did Bobby remove you from the policy?
I believe not filling out the paper removed me from the policy.
And that paper was sent to
Bobby.
So you didn't discover that you weren't covered in health insurance until you went to the hospital.
That's correct.
And is there a current outstanding bill since health insurance wouldn't cover it?
Yes, for $1,700.
And approximately when did you receive this treatment?
I'm not sure what it was. It was in 2019.
So in any matter, it's after you had filed for divorce, but prior to the
But yes,
is it your understanding that Bobby wasn't allowed to remove you from his health insurance?
yes, from my understanding, the judge ordered him not to remove me from any policies, which he again also removed me from the auto insurance, and I had to get separate insurances for every single thing.
And once you discovered that this wasn't going to be covered by health insurance, did you contact Bobby to?
I did. I again texted him and said, "Why would you take me off the medical insurance? The judge ordered you not to do these things."
And
He ignores me every time.
were you put back on the insurance?
Yes, I was.
And why were you put back on the insurance?
Because I called the culinary union and I let my counsel know, and they made him go down and complete the form that they sent to him months ago, and that reactivated my insurance.
Did you ever have to receive any other type of medical treatment?
I did go to a doctor another time for chest pains, and the culinary union again called Bobby. He gave them a completely different story, and now they're not covering any of the visit that I took that time.
And that was just related to chest pains.
Yes, I was having breathing problems.
And since you have filed for divorce, have you ever been in any type of car accident?
I was in a car accident, yes.
Did you receive any medical treatment related to that car accident?
No.
So other than the property inside the home, did you and Bobby ever store your property in any other place?
Well, I stored all the stuff in my home. I put all my stuff in the garage. When one time when I went to live with my mom, he moved all of my things with his friend into a storage.
And you had stated that Bobby moved out prior to you, is that correct?
Yes,
And when you moved out, was any property damage or any damage to the home in the process of him moving out?
yes, he damaged my daybed. They got paint all over it. There was some snowboarding clothes that he also got paint all over. I had architect drawings that I worked on for years that he poured paint all over. So there was a lot of damage in the home when he left.
And so the daybed, is that something you had purchased
I
prior to
purchased
marriage?
prior to the marriage,
And do you recall how much it cost?
about $350.
And you said there's paint on it. Is it, you describe it as completely
It's
ruined?
ruined.
Or
It's completely ruined.
do you think it would cost more to repair it than the value of it?
Yeah, it wouldn't be worth repairing. There's paint all over leather.
Then you had snowboarding pants that were damaged. Do you recall the cost of your snowboarding pants?
They're about $150 a pair.
And you had also stated that there were architectural plans. Did you purchase those plans? Did you create those plans?
I created those plans in architecture school, so they were extremely important to me. And he just threw paint all over them.
Do you think that he did this intentionally, or that it might have just happened during the process of moving out?
I think in
Objection,
the
Your Honor, calls for speculation.
Sustained.
So other than damaged property, was anything missing after Bobby had moved out? Any property?
Yes. Once I got the keys back to my storage, I was missing a poker table and my son's Thomas engine train table.
Right. And regarding property inside of the home, when Bobby moved out, did he take any of your property that was inside of the home?
He took all the community property. So we had a brown dresser that matched my bedroom set. He took that. A 90-inch TV that he bought without my permission. He took that. A barbecue grill. He took that. And he took the ring as well as the car that he bought for me.
You said the car that he bought for you. What car is that?
When about June, the foundation was struggling, so I decided to sell my personal vehicle so that I could put that money back into the foundation. But I agreed with Bobby that he would help me buy a different car prior to. So we then bought a new car, sold my car, and then 2 days later, Bobby took the truck back and said I could never drive it.
So you had sold your car, and he had purchased his car, but then essentially took it back. So you didn't have a car at that time to drive.
Right, so from November when we sold his car until June, he drove my car and I drove my mom's car. But then when the foundation needed more support, I decided that I was going to sell my car and put that money back into the foundation. But he agreed that he would help me buy another car first. So that's what we did. We bought the Ford Explorer, then we went to CarMax and sold my car.
Right. So you previously testified that you gave Bobby approximately $26,100 in cash to be placed in savings. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So after you gave him this cash, did you and him ever have any understanding that those funds would be used for daily expenses?
No, the only thing we ever discussed using those funds for were remodeling the kitchen in the house that we decided that we were going to buy. Besides that, we never ever discussed using those funds. It was strictly savings.
And the discussion regarding remodeling, did any remodel take place?
No, he asked me about it on January 28th if I still wanted to go to IKEA and look at kitchens. And I told him, yes, if we're going to use any of that money, it will be to redo the kitchens.
Right. And when you got married, did you purchase Bobby's wedding ring?
Yes, I did.
How much did that cost?
It was approximately $3,500. It was $5,000, but it was on sale.
So approximately $3,500.
That's correct.
At the time of the wedding, did he give you a wedding ring?
Yes.
At that point in time, did you believe that he had purchased that with his own money?
Yes.
And so essentially, you purchased his wedding ring, and he had told you he purchased yours with his money, is that correct?
Yes.
And do you recall the name of the bank that the cash funds were supposed to be stored in, or?
Goldman
saved in?
Sachs.
Did you ever witness Bobby making any payments for the Goldman Sachs credit card, or?
He never
bank
once
card?
used a Goldman Sachs card for anything.
What type of card would you generally use to make purchases?
He was using his own American Express.
I'd like to have you flip in the defendant's binder to exhibit L. Let me know when you're on.
I'm here.
Base number Antee 000037.
That's where I'm at.
And is it your understanding that this is Bobby's statement for his American Express card?
Yes.
Looking on the right side, looks like there's kind of some columns. There's one that states account summary. And then if you go further down, looks like the third box down, it says account total. Can you read what the previous balance in this is?
$311.11.
And the new charges?
$10,251.28.
And then going down, what's the new balance there?
$9,174.77.
So turning 2 pages over to Antee 39. It looks like if you go down the statement on November 24, 2017, there's a purchase for $1,246.95 at K Jewelers.
Objection, Your Honor, misstates the evidence. The document in question refers to credits, or at least the part that he is speaking to, it speaks to credits, not purchases.
Well, regarding this credit or purchase, do you know what this transaction's from?
No.
And turning the page to Antee 40. Going down to November 22nd, 2017. From K Jewelers, there's a charge for $8,881.48. Do you know what this purchase is?
That's the ring.
That's which ring?
The ring he said he bought for me.
And so at this point in time, you thought that this ring was being charged to his credit card and that he would then pay off any amount with his own funds, is that correct?
I didn't see him charge it to his credit card. I don't know how he got the ring or how he paid for it. I showed him which one I wanted, but I was not there when he picked up this ring.
And turning to the next page over, Antee 41. About midway through the page, it says interest charge calculation. Can you reach me what that interest rate is?
19.24%.
And now flipping over to Antee 44. On the right side, if you go under account summary, about 3 boxes down, it says account total. What's the previous balance there?
$9,174.77.
And what are the payments / credits?
$20,041.66.
And right below, what are the new charges?
$11,172.23.
And further down, it looks like kind of the last box. What is the payment due date there?
121.18.
So 6. It looks like under payments, on November 28, 2017, there was an online payment for $9,414.53. And at the time you and Bobby got married, he had approximately $14,000 in his account. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And other than the $26,000 that you gave him, that was to be placed in Goldman Sachs savings. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And then directly below on December 22nd, 2017, there is a payment for $10,586.32. So if the combined amount is approximately $20,000, is your understanding that he only had $14,000 to his name at that time? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And going down into the statement, on November 26, 2017, there's a charge for $124.47 for Buffalo Wild Wings Grill and Bar. Do you recall if you were present during this meal?
No, I was busy planning my son's celebration of life, a Christmas party and a wedding. I wasn't with him.
And you were married on November 25th, 2017, correct?
That's correct.
So you recall that the day after, since you didn't take a honeymoon, you weren't with him on the...
No, I went back to my office. I was working 12-hour days trying to build the foundation.
And then the following day, which would be the 27th, so if you're married the 25th, the 26th, you were working all day. The 27th, do you recall if you were in the office all day as well?
I was working in the office most of the day. In the evening, I was with Bobby.
And on November 27th, 2017, do you recall if you and Bobby ever went to the Guest store, the clothing store?
No, I didn't.
Do you recall if Bobby ever came back and said that he had purchased you anything from the Guest store?
No.
And then it looks like on that same day there is a charge on November 27, 2017 at Musashi Japanese Steakhouse for $290. Were you present at this meal?
Yes, I was.
And was your understanding that Bobby was going to pay for this meal?
Yes, he used his own credit cards. He offered to pay. I offered to pay with my own card, and he said, "No, baby, I got this." So he put on that he was paying with his own money in his own card.
Your Honor, I object as to relevance. Again, they're married, they're a community at this point, and they're out buying meals.
Relevance, counsel.
Regarding the things, essentially, in briefing, defendants has claimed that all these funds were essentially used for the community. So we can identify certain, and we know that exhaustive. We don't want to go through each one, but that we think there are pretty identifiable ones that the parties can testify whether or not who was present during these transactions and what they were for. Because essentially, their briefing has stated that all the money was used for both parties doing these lavish things. So I think if we can hash out some of what those were and what those were spent for, I think it would provide a lot of clarity.
The facts are already in evidence, Your Honor. Their statements are admitted.
They have a community estate, right? She goes out to dinner, he goes out to dinner, it's still a community expense. I'm not concerned about dinners. Sustained. Mr. Wilson, how much longer do you think you're
Not
gonna
much
go?
longer.
Because we need a break about now, so is it a good time for you where you're at in your questioning, or are you almost ready to wrap up?
I'm fairly close, but it's probably best to take a break just in case it does
yeah.
extend.
Because I need to give my staff, we've been going 2 hours, I need to give them a restroom break. Okay?
Of course.
All right, thank you.
Step down, ma'am. I'll lock the doors and leave the personal items.